You are listening to the Knightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Knightline is brought to you by the Dever team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
All right, hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and this is Knightline 247 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Joining me, as always,
Roger Phipps, and on this week's show, the Danny White era is over. UCF presidential pontification, that was a tongue twister. Hoop skid, Abe is ballin', Helwig heat, senior bowls, recruiting tendencies, season expectations, the Tijuana Flats hot take of the week, and your questions on Ask Knightline.
What did you say there? The Tijuana Flats hot take of the week? What's that?
Yeah.
What's that all about? If you saw my tweet earlier in the week, we'd like to welcome Tijuana Flats on as one of our partners. Been working on that for a while, and they finally did the deal. So Tijuana Flats is one of our sponsor partners, and I'm so excited about that, by the way. You will be hearing...
They're bringing the sizzle, everybody. Bringing the sizzle.
Tex-Mex for everyone is their thing. So I love Tijuana Flats. I don't know if I've ever said this before on here, but I'm kind of a taco freak. I like pretty much everything they have, and like I will try anything once at Tijuana Flats for sure. I wanted to get someone, we were doing this hot take segment, and I really wanted something that was like hot. And Tijuana Flats, you know, is known for their hot sauce bar, and I'm way into hot sauce as well. I eat hot sauce on almost everything, so I just thought that it was a perfect fit with their connection to UCF and everything else, and they agreed. So very, very excited to have them on board with us as well. So you will hear a lot more. We'll have giveaways. We'll have maybe some events or something. If we can get back to tailgating, we may have a Tijuana Flats tailgate. You never know. So all kinds of stuff could happen and will happen with this partnership, and I'm so excited. So got that out of the way. Very cool, though. I'm totally stoked about that deal.
Oh, me too. I've been going there for years, and as you said, there's a very close UCF connection. Those longtime UCF fans know all about Tijuana Flats. And, you know, there's rumors that there are rumors that are spread at Tijuana Flats that are UCF related. All the inside info.
All the inside info comes from Tijuana Flats, that you are correct.
Absolutely. So, you know, I'm super excited about the partnership and love their food. And it's great that we can partner with them and tell everybody else all about it.
Absolutely. All right, well, to the big news. Welcome back, by the way. It's been a while since we did this. That was the other thing I was going to get straight into it, but then I need to say welcome back to everyone. Glad to have you. It's been a while. We just, the last week there was sports stuff going on that were very important to certain members of Knightline. Ben's team played yesterday in the NFC Championship. My team played yesterday in the AFC Championship. And what do you know?
My team did not.
Your team didn't play in the playoffs, I don't think. Did they win a game this year?
A few. I think we won 3. We ended up winning 3, unfortunately.
The Bengals.
I was hoping for a higher draft pick.
Yeah, my Kansas City Chiefs, I was definitely not doing Knightline in the middle of that game in the AFC Championship. So there was just all kinds of stuff. And then we talked about doing this on Saturday night maybe, but then there was the Conor McGregor fight. Oh, What an upset that was. Anyway.
Night.
Yeah.
Night.
It's a bummer. That was the first time he ever got knocked out. But anyway, yeah, welcome back. I'm glad to be back doing this. We've obviously still been doing the Tuesday night Knightline at night on WDBO, but we haven't done a Knightline in a while. Just kind of waiting to have some stuff to talk about, and boy, do we. Really big news this week. Danny White moving on from UCF, signing on as the AD at the University of Tennessee, which really came out of the blue. Actually came way out of the blue. I did not see this coming. I don't think anybody did. I talked to Brandon Helwig a little while later in the show, and we will talk a lot about that. But we will talk here between you guys and us at this point about that. Roger, what are your first thoughts on this situation with Danny moving on to, this guy, I almost think, and Mike Bianchi said it this week, that this is bigger to a bigger, I don't know what the headline was, but it's a bigger deal to UCF than when Scott Frost left. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's not a hot take. I think that is 100% true. I mean, one of the things is coaches come and go, but it's all about the program. And foundationally, we had George O'Leary that built that base for us on moving forward. But I think Danny White took us to that next level. He was an AD that we needed, someone who was boisterous, who wasn't afraid, who had a vision. He was able to produce revenue and record donations for us. He was someone that people could get behind, and he was a face of an entire in an entire fan base. And I think you're right in saying that nobody expected him to leave. That being said, that's with an asterisk, because I think most people expected him to leave at some point, but not this soon. He said all the right things. He's building a new home in Winter Park. Apparently this happened over the span of 2 days. So he got a call one night. The next day, the leader for UT was on a plane and talking to him, and he decided that evening. So it was a very quick turnaround. I don't think anybody expected it. I know nobody at UCF, even the donors, were expecting it. He didn't volunteer. He got $1.8 million plus $300,000 worth of bonuses to move to Tennessee. You like my pun there? He didn't volunteer. Sorry. I had to throw that in there. But the big question, yeah, exactly. The chuckle. But the big question to me and to everyone was the why. So, there's lots of speculation. Did Danny White reach his quote unquote peak? Did he feel like he had done everything he could there? Did COVID decimate our budget and he felt hamstrung there? There's a mixture of things, but apparently the first thing he said to the Tennessee chancellor when she called him that first night was he can win a championship at Tennessee. So I think that's the line I'd love to explore tonight is, do you think, we've got our championship from 2017. He likes to build things. Do you think that was the main motivator and driver for Danny White to move on to Tennessee?
I don't know about that. I think the main motivation was the program there at Tennessee is probably the worst that it's ever been. It's probably in the most dire straits that it's ever been in. So, this is a storied program. They've won many championships. And, somebody has to come and resurrect it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're at their absolute bottom. So if Danny White can go in and fix it and bring them back to the top and win an SEC championship or something more, then, he's solidified his name in college athletics for the rest of his life. You know what I'm saying? He already kind of has to us. But to national fans a little bit that supported what he did here and know about what he did here, but there with the unlimited budget that he has and the billions of dollars that they have at their disposal, he can do anything that he wants. And heck yeah, he can win championships there. Of course he can. It's probably a little easier, but he has to rebuild that thing from the ground up. So,
And that's something he did at Buffalo as well. From what I understand, and folks that have talked to him, and I've talked to him personally at various events and whatever, and he's always about building something new. I think he enjoys the challenge of that.
what bigger of a challenge could he have had? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I mean,
there is
Tennessee,
no bigger challenge.
At this point, because they've also got many of you already know this, but they're also staring down the barrel of some NCAA violations. They recently got rid of their AD and their head coach. It's debatable whether they did that in order to kind of assuage the NCAA, or if it was more a ploy to get out of their contracts with regard to with the out clauses that they have built into them, so they didn't have to pay them out. So either way,
when you fire
there's going
with
to be
cause, you don't usually have to pay those out. Just so you know.
Exactly. So
either way, it was the best move for them to get rid of those guys. I mean, some of the things that have come out from that is that they were paying players with money in McDonald's sacks and stuff. I mean, that's a little crazy.
The shock.
Yeah. Which doesn't surprise me.
SEC team pays its players? Oh, my goodness. The revelations.
Well, we pay some players, too. But anyway, another story. So, yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that it happened now, but with that job opening up, it just seemed to be the right time. And like I said, I talked a lot with Brandon Helwig, and you'll hear that later about all of this. And when we talk about a lot of these same things, and I'm kind of saying some of the stuff that he said, but I agree. So, and he made 1.1 million here. He's only going to make 1.8 million there, plus some bonuses, of course. It's not that much more money. And I don't know if he reached his peak here at UCF. I think you said something about that earlier. I don't know, maybe. With the COVID situation, you never know, right? I mean, it messed a lot of things up this year. So it was probably just the right time.
Well, I mean, you had that. You had the roof claim situation that was going on. I know many people have said that Danny was not very happy about that being torpedoed at the last minute. So on top of that, as you said, COVID has put a severe dent in our momentum as far as the budget for what we were doing. I mean, coming into COVID, we had the second straight season where we had sold out. We still had the best year for philanthropy. We had, the most. We had facilities going up everywhere, and all that momentum stopped with COVID. And now it's more about survival. If you're really thinking about it, not cutting programs like some other programs have had to do. They've cut different sports. They've cut coaches' salaries. They've done a whole bunch of other things. So, I think to your point, it is important to note that a school like Tennessee is a little more immune to that. And I think it's also a challenge for him at a big name and a big opportunity to bring back a storied program.
Word.
What's that?
I don't know if immune was the right word there. Immune to
yeah.
I don't know.
That was not intended,
I
folks.
don't know about
the first
that.
one was, but that one wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, what do you think, and you may have talked with Brandon about this a little bit later, but I wanted to ask your opinion.
I did. We're talking about all the same stuff, so I feel kind of dumb right now because you're going to hear a lot of the same stuff when we talk to Brandon, a little bit differently, but whatever. We're going to have the conversation anyway.
Yeah, there's a couple of things here that kind of jump out to me, and does this? I know some people have said this can say something about our P5 aspirations. I have my own opinion about that. What's yours?
I don't understand the question.
So basically, does this say anything with him leaving now? Does this say there's a lot of fans out there that are basically saying, hey, he's leaving now because he knows that we're not going to get into the anytime soon. Do you feel like that had any impact on his thinking at all?
I mean, I don't think so personally. I mean, who knows when that could happen? I mean, there's times I'm sure that are set for where things are going to reorganize a little bit. I don't know about all the contracts for all the different conferences and stuff, but I don't think having Danny White or not having Danny White is going to make that happen or not happen. Personally, I think whoever the AD that is here is going to facilitate that happening. I don't think that having one guy over another, though, would make it happen any faster. I don't think that's the AD's job really to do that. I mean,
well, I think you're right. I mean, it's the president's job, right? At the end of the day, he's the one who's out there and has to get the other presidents to sign on. And also, it's about a 4-year window. So if he was going to exit, this is plenty of time for another AD to come in and get their feet wet before all of this starts to happen. And for me, I don't think it says anything about our P5 aspirations. I don't think that was in Danny White's calculus at all. And I know that was kind of a loaded question there, but I wanted to get your opinion before I put mine out there. But in general, I don't think this had anything to do with our aspirations or opportunities to move up one way or the other.
I don't think it had anything to do with UCF personally. I think it had everything to do with Danny White saw a situation where he could be the man and resurrect a university, an athletic program, kind of like he did when he came here. He really did. He made a lot of things happen here. He can do it on a much grander level and solidify his name as one of the top people in all of college athletics, period. I think that is all that it was. And I don't know if you watched the press conference, but I watched his introductory press conference there at Tennessee and I said to Brandon, I watched it with a tear in my eye. I kind of did because this upset me. I mean, this is a guy that is, really done a lot of things. I mean, he's responsible for claiming the national championship and all that stuff. If he wouldn't have looked into that camera and said that, we would have never been talking about anything like that. So, I mean, he's done unbelievable things, but and one of the first things that he said, he thanked everybody at UCF. One of the very first things. I mean, he wasn't up there 10 seconds before he started talking about UCF. So he says that he wants to do, the things on the scale that he did at UCF, and, that he wanted to thank, donors and fan base and the president and John Hitt and all this other stuff. So I guarantee you that this, I don't think that it was probably, something where he just wanted out at UCF and he was just went looking for this thing. I think it was the right time, the right place, and it just happened. Things happen like that sometimes, especially in the sports world and everything else. If you've ever worked in any kind of high level job, things happen very quickly, especially when it has to do. I mean, I worked in the entertainment business for a while, and I was always so shocked at how I would go from one job to a better job so quickly. You know what I'm saying? One day I was having a conversation with somebody on the phone, what do you think about this? And then all of a sudden I got a phone call and I was on an airplane to that other job. You know what I'm saying? Because it was that much different, if that makes any sense.
I agree with you. I mean, I on a personal level, I had a similar situation where there was an opportunity. I had been at this place for 4 years, absolutely loved it. Loved the people that were there, was absolutely happy, had turned down numerous opportunities to talk to others and interview for other roles. And this role came up and I had an initial conversation. I always have an initial conversation and just say, yeah, sure, I'm interested in listening. And then I actually turned it down and the hiring the hiring executive called me, because this was another executive leadership situation, and just talked to me. And after about an hour and a half of conversation, I connected with this person and said, this person gets it and gives me the ability to lead the way that I want to lead. And there's a larger opportunity for me to make an impact on a much wider scale. And I took the job.
It's the same deal.
I wasn't I wasn't expecting it at all.
Yeah, same kind of deal, and it happened probably very quickly. And that's the way that this happened, I'm sure, for Danny White. We didn't hear anything about it. There wasn't any talk, blah, blah, blah. It just happened. It's done. You know, I mean, I got wind of it like, you know, whenever Pete Thamel or whoever started tweeting about it. And then I'd never heard anything about it before. Like, and which is kind of amazing because I hear about stuff. So Brandon said the same thing. Where he heard about it and it was a done deal right after he heard about it. So just interesting the way that things happen. Things happen for a reason. I think maybe this will, I don't know, maybe a couple changes. Changes can be good sometimes. Maybe a little bit of change will be good for the program at UCF. You never know what the next bright mind will think of and make things better in some way.
You know, and to your point, you know, I don't mean to close the chapter on Danny White, but we're going to have to eventually. He's, you know, just to recap in my mind, he was a visionary leader at the right time, and he spoke for us on a national stage, which now President Cartwright has a big decision to make, right? And this is he's been dealing with a lot lately and is a big test. Now, I know he had, you mentioned Bianchi earlier, he had written an article earlier, and there was a lot of energy around a quote. I think Cartwright got in front of it. He said, UCF's going to get past this. We're going to thrive, which is exactly what he needed to say. But there was a small part of it that essentially said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that we are focusing on owning the American, and then we'll worry about the rest. So for you, is that the right message to the fan base at this time?
Absolutely. Worry about what's in front of us right now, not what's in front of us 10 years down the road, personally. We should be ruling the G5 if we're in the G5. We should be the best team in the G5 if that's the chips we've been given. You know what I'm saying? Do what you can and win as much as you can in what you've got, and then worry about the future and Power 5 and all that crap. I would just rather that, to be honest with you. And I think that's the way that they're looking at it. I mean, from what you're saying, that's what that statement kind of said.
Yeah, I think so. I think one of the things that
I'm trying to find that statement, by the way, while you're talking. So
yeah, no worries. And you know, one of the things for me, and I think I speak for a segment of Knight Nation in general, one of the things is we're always striving to better ourselves. And one of the stats I've thrown out there repeatedly is every 8 years we move up in conference, right? This next leap is going to be a big leap, right? It's not the other conference leaps were smaller increases incrementally as far as level of competition, facilities, budget, donor base, all of those things. This is this next leap. Whenever we get into this next conference, is going to be a big jump. I think there was an opportunity that was missed by Cartwright by saying that we'll win the American first and then we'll worry about the rest. I think win the American first in all sports and dominate in all sports. I think that's the right statement. I think with how big and how integral Danny White was to UCF and our trajectory and our future, because he was always talking about the future, I think that was the right moment to tag on to what he was saying, which was we'll get past this is, we'll own the American and we'll work towards moving towards that next step. I think that's what UCF fans by and large wanted to hear. But I agree with you. I think the general message was right. And the big question is going to be is, can he find that next AD that's going to take us to that next level, or at least move us forward in the trajectory that Danny has?
Yeah, no, I agree. I can't find the email, by the way. I've been looking and looking, and I was going to read the statement because it wasn't a long statement, but yeah, anyway, I can't find it. It's somewhere in my emails.
This is where we need our intern.
I know. Well, we had an intern once. Didn't last very long. Anyway, okay. What's next? Well, I think we've talked about Danny White for long enough.
All right. So next on our list, we were talking. It's been a while, as you said earlier, since we've talked to Knight Nation, and so a lot of things have kind of happened since the last time we chatted. So one thing was, we've lost some folks. So Trey Nixon recently accepted a NFL Combine invite, although that was it's a little bit different this year in that they're doing it at the pro days at the school. Marlon Williams is moving on. Jacob Harris is moving on. Richie Grant is moving on. Otis Anderson's moving on. Greg McCrae's moving on. So there's a lot of vacancies and where we're going to fill. Now, we've spent some time, and you've heard on the recruiting front where we tried to fill some of those holes, and we had some transfer opportunities there that we kind of swung at and missed. How do you feel about the wide receiver, DB, and running back group specifically as currently constructed? And do we need a lot to keep that momentum going forward?
I think a lot's going to change between now and the spring when it's time to make those decisions. And I don't think that we really know a lot about any of it. I mean, to be honest with you, it's a long time before spring football starts, if it starts. You never know. We're still in this COVID situation. I mean, I thought by September last year this would be over, and obviously it's not. So who knows? I mean, National Signing Day is not over yet. It's still to come in a couple of weeks, the actual National Signing Day. I know that they tried to get the players in the transfer portal, which is totally different this year, by the way. The transfer portal has turned into a new monster since everybody can transfer this year. At will, basically. The NCAA made a new rule. Everybody can transfer once in their career. So that opened a lot of doors to players that wanted to go different places, to maybe go back home, to do, maybe go to play for another team that they've always wanted to play for. Whatever, I mean, it changed the landscape of college football. But I think we have to get used to this. And this is one of those things that is going to be like this for a while. The transfer portal has turned in, it's basically, and I've said this all along since I heard that they were going to do this, it's free agency in college football. And I don't think you can concentrate nearly as hard on recruiting like you normally used to. The high school players, you have to recruit these kids in the transfer portal as well. And, now coming up where college football players are going to be able to get paid for endorsements and stuff like that, I'm sure that plays into this as well. The bigger school, the bigger notoriety, the more television time. You know what I'm saying? I think it's going to be very difficult, especially. I think it's going to be very difficult, especially for G5 schools and below, to get a lot of those top players out of that transfer portal now because of that, personally. And if you're going to do that, you better work hard and fast at trying to get those kids out of there. And the other thing is the transfer portal is just awash with a lot of players that weren't good enough where they were before. You know what I'm saying? It's not just the guys that are awesome and can go anywhere they want. It's a lot of guys that were on the bottom levels of those teams, 4 and 5 people back from being a starter, that are in this transfer portal as well. So it's watered down big time with players that are not very good. So you have to be really careful, and if you don't get one of those guys off the top, you have to skim the cream off the top. If you don't do that, there's not a lot left there.
You just Wow. I mean, you just had so much meat in everything that you just said, because I think you covered a wide variety of topics there. Number one,
This is why
NLI.
no, I'm not into talking football, like recruiting at this point and what we think of like position groups, because it still could change so much. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said all that. Because there's so much unknown at this point, especially because of this year, and lots of kids could have stayed but didn't. But who really wants to stay when it's your 5th year or 6th year in college football? Everybody gets the other year. Some of those guys already had 5 years. Some of them even had 6. It would have been 7 years for some of those kids to stay in college football. Who at the age of 25 wants to play college football? You know what I'm saying? That's another thing you have to think about.
Memphis's quarterback has a doctorate degree already.
No, I know, but I mean, that's one guy. There's just not a lot of...
Jacob Harris, I mean, this would have been his 6th year.
Yeah, but I mean, if you even think that you have the chance to sniff the NFL, you would probably take it now before you get too old.
No, I agree with you, and that's what I'm saying, too.
I don't blame any of these guys. Like, I blame no one for wanting to go get their shot at the NFL now. Most of them aren't going to get it in any way. I mean, the ratio of college football players that actually, for one, the ratio of high school players that get to play Division I football, it's slim to none, really. I don't know what the numbers are, but then to take it to the NFL after that, it's even slimmer.
It goes 0.01 every level that you go up. So 0.01% of high school get into a Division I college and start. 0.01 of all those college football players actually get to the NFL.
So what's the lesson in that? You damn well better take your shot when you have a chance, right?
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm just saying it. I'm not saying that towards you. And I normally don't even go that far as saying damn, but it just... That's the way I feel about it, and that's what I think about when I'm not even concerned with, like, I'm just not there yet to really break down, who's on the roster, and because you never know, things can change between now and then. I mean,
well, I will say this. I do think your NLI comment will be interesting to see how that all plays out, because not everybody, to your point, can be the starter on the roster. And those folks that are 3rd or 4th string or, consistently, they're going to be looking for a new home in the transfer portal as well, because they won't be able to make that money. However, schools like UCF that are positioned in a large metropolitan area, they may benefit from that, because, we have a larger potential donor base, or people who will pay them for commercials or whatever. So I think in the long run,
we haven't benefited from it so far, though. In this cycle
but the NLI really hasn't kicked off.
Well, no, but I mean, in the cycle of the transfer portal, we haven't really done that great at UCF this season.
I don't know, man. We've had some good ones. I mean, you're not gonna fill your team with transfers, right? We know that. We've got Deontay Marks that transferred in. That'll be back at wide receiver starting next year. We've got Jaden Francois, who didn't get to play because old Frosty decided to hold on to his scholarship, and then you had Devod Wilson, who played sparingly. He played in a couple of games. That are all big-name guys that are coming back. Obviously, we've had some big-name players in the past. A-Rob is a transfer. He played pretty well for us at the nickel. There's a lot of names that are there that have kind of helped us out. The question's going to be, and I think to your point, I think there are more players out there than there have been in the past, because you get this free pass to transfer. And it is going to be harder, and you're almost going to have to recruit again for those players, and recruit to keep your top players. So it's definitely a different dynamic. I mean, we saw this with Creedle. Creedle left since the last time we spoke, and he's in the transfer portal, and he ended up at Georgia State, which I still don't understand that decision.
It's because he's going to get to play like immediately. he will go there and start. He was not guaranteed that here. He wasn't.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't, but he also had I mean, I don't know if it's because he thinks the path in the NFL is going to be greater, because I can tell you this right now, the chances of him getting to be a NFL receiver at Georgia State are a heck of a lot lower than they are at UCF. The stage is just not as big. You don't have the QB sling. I mean, you do have to, when you get to bigger schools like UCF, and you see this at other schools, you've seen it at Alabama and FSU, anywhere, you're going to have to wait your turn a little bit. And yeah, it's going to have to happen. But I just don't see any way that moving to Georgia State, even if he gets to play right away, is a good move for Ja'Kai Creedle.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what's up with that situation. That is
well,
a little bit
there's
weird,
some thoughts
Georgia
about
State.
There's some rumors about helicopter parents and whatever, but at the end of the day, I think for the most part we've done okay. I mean, we've definitely taken some swings and misses. What's interesting to me too is JUCO versus high school, because a lot of the players that are going to be that are going to be making up our team is we're going to be taking more JUCO, and we have been taking more JUCO versus high school. So what are your thoughts on JUCO kids versus high school kids?
I don't know that I have one. I mean, if they're ready to play and they want to get to the next level, this is their shot. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I would think that those kids in the JUCO programs would probably just really want their shot. And they may have a little bit more fire in their veins to actually go and take their shot. You know what I'm saying? Just personally.
Yeah, and they've had a strength and conditioning program. Obviously, it's not a Division
They
I
didn't even
strength and
play
conditioning
last year.
program.
Most JUCO programs didn't even play last year.
That's true.
So they're going to be out of shape. They've had a lot of time off from playing football. I don't know if they were working out. Probably most of them probably were not working out, crazy during that. So we got one wide receiver from Tennessee that I see in the portal that really is the only incoming player that I even see in the portal for this year.
That's Brandon Johnson.
And he didn't do too well at Tennessee, from what I understand, correct?
Well, I've got his stats here. He's a 6'2", 195 senior. He
This
was
says
originally
6'2",
out of American.
203. Okay.
Well, the stats I grabbed was 6'2", 195. He was originally out of American Heritage in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He was a 4-star recruit, top 100 prospect. 2020, he was a redshirt senior, which was interesting. He took a redshirt year. I know he had an injury that was going on. He had 79 receptions for 969 yards and one score over 46 career games. He's had 15 starts, 2 career 100-yard games. This year, he had 4 catches for 40 yards versus number 6 Florida, 4 catches for 37 against UK, in which he was the leading receiver. He made 3 catches in each game.
I thought this guy hadn't played since like 2017 or something. Am I wrong?
Well, no, he played. He actually had the first year he didn't play very much. Second year he picked up quite a bit. Third year he had an injury in the middle of the year, so that laid him back. And then he took a redshirt year last year. So now,
okay, because I don't see any stats for him for 2018 or 2019 or 2020. I see 16 and 17 for stats.
Yeah,
for
he's got stats out there. These stats that I was pulling, obviously he has them for 2020. He played versus number 6 Florida, had 4 catches for 40 yards. His average yards per catch weren't that big because he was playing more an inside and a slot role as opposed to an outside wide receiver when he was playing versus Florida and UK. Their quarterback was terrible. Tennessee's quarterback has been terrible the last 2 years. So that didn't help matters. But the interesting thing was he redshirted last year because he had an injury that bled over. I don't know what the specific injury was, but he definitely did have stats in 18 and part of 19.
Now I see him. All right. Yeah, in 2020 he caught 19 balls for 231 yards. No touchdowns. Hadn't scored a touchdown since 2017, it says here. So that's not good. If that's the guy that you got in
I don't know what it is.
I know,
but
if that's the guy you got in the transfer portal, I'm scared. I mean, ooh. Yeah, against Florida, 4 receptions for 40 yards is what I'm seeing here.
Correct.
Yeah. And no rushes, so he didn't rush or anything. 19 receptions for 231 yards, averaged 12.2. His longest was 33 in 2020, 19 catches. So, yeah, I'm not sold on this guy at all. So we'll see. I mean, like you said, obviously they had to see something in the guy, or they felt sorry for him. I'm not sure which one it is, but hopefully he'll come in here and do wonderful things.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, we did have another recent commit. We had a walk-on commit who actually his tape looks pretty good. Carlos Bailey from Bishop Moore. He was same school as Parker Boudreaux. He's a defensive end /
that really panned out too, didn't it? Parker Boudreaux.
What's that?
Parker Boudreaux really panned out, didn't he?
Well, I'd say it's more of a pancake, but he is. Parker is officially a wrestler now, so congratulations to him for that. But Carlos, he played defensive end. I see him projecting more as an outside linebacker. He's a good standing rusher. He's got great speed. He chased down all the QBs. I mean, every highlight tape is great, but I was really impressed with his vision. And he was just tenacious. So hopefully, we got another good one. We've had some luck with walk-ons and our walk-on program. So hopefully that's another positive for us with him. So
who's the guy you're
the other
talking
guy
about?
to keep?
Who was that guy you were just talking about?
Carlos Bailey Weiss from Bishop Moore.
Okay. All right. I wanted to look for the name.
Yep. And the other guy to kind of keep an eye on that is actually interesting, very interesting, and that will likely come back is another Hawaii wide receiver who's a 4-star. So Titus Macau, and I'm going to murder this, so I'm sorry, Atimalala. So I think I got that right. So he's a 4-star wide receiver who actually played with Dylan Gabriel, and Dylan has been all over him, and rumors have it that things are looking good for UCF. He's supposed to be committing at the end of this month, so keep an eye out on that name because he's a great wide receiver. He's got some connections with Dylan, and if we could snag him, that would be a great get for us.
Yeah, when is National Signing Day, the actual National Signing Day? February 3rd.
I believe it's February 4th, if I'm not mistaken.
February 3rd. Wednesday,
there you go,
February
3rd. I was close.
Yeah. So we will we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, he's supposed to announce, I think, January 30th, 28th or 30th, and that would be a big get for us. He's got good size, and he did really well, and obviously that Hawaiian connection and that Hawaiian pipeline would be great to keep that going. So very excited about him.
Okay, that would be this week. So this week or next, the time is now. So we'll see what happens. There's definitely a couple more probably that'll be brought in after or this week, I guess, until the beginning of or the middle of next week. So we'll see. I don't think that it was a very exciting class from UCF. A lot of people were kind of upset because, we didn't rank high enough in the class and the stars weren't enough and we didn't get this star and that star. I think we're going to have to see what we got when they start playing in, April maybe? Maybe later.
Yeah, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but what I recall, we weren't ranked as high, but our average star rating was actually, I think, our either first or second highest. I think is second average, highest average star rating in the last 7 years. Okay. So this isn't a bad class. Yeah. People need to remember that we got some highly rated guys that are coming in. And I'm sure we'll do a preview of the class after everything's said and done.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, guys, keep looking. And if we grab this 4-star, again, we move up. I mean, Cincinnati had 2 4-stars, I believe, highly rated 4-stars that were committed to them that decommitted. So this isn't over.
Yeah, I will
by any
still
stretch of the
say
imagination.
that these star ratings are really, they're really overranked. These star things that these kids get, they're overrated. I don't remember the last time. The last time we had a guy like that, I believe the last 4-star player was Cordarian Richardson, I believe. And you ask who? Who? Cordarian Richardson. He was that running back that played, 4 games maybe? Or no, Eric Gilliard was the last one. But before that. And they're guys that are no longer on the team. So, if that tells you anything, I think we've done pretty well with the 3 stars and lower. So these stars mean nothing to me. When I see them on the field in a UCF uniform, Dylan Gabriel was a 3-star, by the way. He was not a 4-star, not a 5-star. He was a 3-star. Mackenzie Milton, I believe, in 2016 was a 2-star or a 3-star. So, Brandon Moore, who just went to Florida State as well with Mackenzie, was a 2-star. And we know how well he did when he played for UCF. So, Mackenzie was a 3-star rated 5.5. When he transferred, he transferred as a 4-star. If that makes any sense at all, obviously. Dredrick Snelson was also a 4-star. And Aaron Dowdell. You remember Aaron Dowdell? I don't remember what happened to Aaron Dowdell. I don't think he's been on the team for quite a while, actually.
No, he left after the first year.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think that was Traquan back in the day a 4-star.
He was a 3-star.
What year was he? 16 or 15? He may have been 15.
He was a George O'Leary guy, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to find him here. Well, whatever. I'll find it. Tristan Payton was a 4-star. Remember him?
I do.
Yeah. He's not in the NFL. I'm just saying that if you go back and historically look at these numbers, Kyle Gibson, what happened to Kyle Gibson back, from a while back ago? He was a 4-star. If you even go back farther, we were getting them back in the day, some of them. You look at some of these guys that didn't have great stars either. The Griffins were both 3-stars. And they're playing in the NFL. So I don't put much into that rating. This is my rant on that, I guess. Traquan was a 3-star rated 5.5 as well, as an athlete, not even a wide receiver. So, all right, well, we'll see what happens after National Signing Day. I'm just a little down on the whole football talk at this moment because they're so long until football starts. All right, well, we need to take a commercial break. Let's do that real quick, and we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices Altamont Springs.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than Flat6Motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, Flat6Motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6Motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at Flat6Motorsports.com. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Knightline's own 7-footer, Ben Big Social Stout, and Inside the Paint. All right, please welcome back to the show, Big Ben Stout. How you doing, my friend?
Doing just fine. Thanks for having me, guys.
All righty. So, what has happened to the basketball team? I'm just going to start it like that. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat it. What the heck has happened to UCF basketball?
Well, last couple weeks, certainly, as we talked about, COVID happened. But besides that, I mean, as far as specifically this last game against SMU, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that Kendrick Davis happened. I mean, Kendrick Davis is one of the best. He's the point guard for SMU. He's one of the best players in the conference, and he showed it on Saturday. I mean, it seemed like every time that we made a shot, that was a big shot in the first half especially, but he came down and knocked down a three or came down and made a great assist. He really should have been a huge focal point for us, and I believe he was, because we were able to control the game defensively in for stretches. But at the end of the day, whenever SMU needed a big play, Kendrick Davis came up big for them, either with an assist or with he's got multiple ways he can score the basket, and he just kind of took over the game for stretches. And then additionally, I'll say there was a stretch from about 13 minutes to about 11 minutes in the second half where SMU went on a 10-0 run. And the unfortunate thing is, from that point on, and they took about a 9-point lead in that stretch. And from that point on, we chipped away at it with a little bit with smaller runs of our own. But we never could get past that kind of 3-point threshold the rest of the way. And that, at the end of the day, that was kind of the difference. It was the play of Kendrick Davis on one end, and then that 10-0 run with right before the kind of the 10-minute mark of the
11:41 of the second is when it started.
Right, yeah.
11:41.
We just couldn't. Okay, there. Yeah, so 11:41. So about the 12-minute mark. Yeah, we just couldn't quite recover from that deficit because SMU, as we talked about last week, SMU is just one of those teams that offensively is just going to keep coming at you. They're a very efficient offensive team, and we just couldn't quite keep up. But there was multiple times where Darren Green Jr., I mean, as we know, one of the best shooters in the conference, he had some wide open looks in that stretch after, within 10 minutes left in the game. And just unfortunately, they just didn't fall. And so at the end of the day, SMU made way more plays than we did. And we just couldn't quite take that deficit back.
Yeah. And for me, I mean, when to your point, Ben, the big thing was switching. I don't know if you noticed this, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit, but I saw, the SMU team, they did a really good job of getting matchups that they wanted, especially with number 10 in there. And they had a couple matchups where they had two really big bigs in there. But what they were doing is they were essentially causing mismatches with number 10 and then driving the offense through there as well as through the point guard position. So with that combined with the fact that we got some turnovers, and we actually got to within 3 because I was at the game. We got to within 3 towards the end there. I think it was like 3 minutes left or something like that. And then they just went on a run. But can you speak a little bit more to the switching and how hard that is defensively? What kind of defense we were playing and how we were dealing, how we could better defend that switch?
Yeah, and that's something that, as far as Johnny Dawkins' team, and especially this year, we've spoken so much about positionless basketball that we're playing as a team this year with not a true big man. I mean, Jamil Reynolds has stepped up in for small stretches in the last few games, but really without a true big man, we are playing that positionless basketball. And that's actually even been a staple, even back when we even had Taco, if Chad Brown was in the lineup or something, that we would switch a lot. And I think that with this team this year, I think that Johnny is, for the most part, telling them to switch almost everything. And that's when you've got guys like number 10, Anai, I think is how you say his last name, that was big, long, rangy player like him. All of a sudden, there was a few times where through that switching that, like, Darius Perry was guarding him, and it's just a big size mismatch. And you're right, they were trying to pound it into them, or at least Kendrick Davis blowing by a larger defender. And so I think that two things happen. So when you got positionless basketball, that and you got the ability with your athleticism to switch almost everything, that could be a good thing because you can stay with a lot of players and react to certain screens. But if you don't stay disciplined, sometimes you kind of get lulled to sleep by switching everything. You kind of get lazy. Instead of fighting through a screen, which you could easily fight through, you just know you're going to switch, so you just kind of let it happen. And that's when you got a guy like Kendrick that can just accelerate so fast. When he sees that kind of laziness, even for a half a second, he's going to drive by you and try to either go for the layup himself, which he did multiple times, or what he's so good at is creating for his teammates in those situations. And so it's a good observation that we sometimes it works to our advantage because we are athletic, that we can switch everything, but sometimes we can get kind of lulled to sleep with that. So I'd like for Dawkins to make sure that the guys are mixing in a lot of feints and a lot of sometimes they fight over the screen and playing a little bit more disciplined on defense in those situations. I think could help us out a lot because when you got an attacking team like SMU, that certainly they can use that to their advantage.
Well, one positive for sure about this game is Brandon Mahan finally came back and scored some points, scored 13, second highest on of the game. It was good to see him coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in the second half, there was a point in the second half where Isaiah Adams hit a three and Brandon Mahan did this awesome job of, we had like a 6-point run and a 6-0 run in like 10 seconds time frame because Mahan did a great job of kind of like acting like he was just going back down the court, and he turned around and stole the ball and turned around for a three. And then immediately after that, he hit another three about a minute after that. So he was certainly feeling it. And it's great to see him kind of get that confidence and get that swagger back that he was showing through the first 4 games of the season. And luckily, a lot of that happened in the second half. You could see just his physical demeanor just kind of improve, and he was feeling a lot better about his game. And hopefully, because that happened in the second half, that bodes well for us going into ECU later this week and just continuing moving forward, because he actually did a lot of that damage in the second half. In the first half, he struggled a little bit. It was kind of a continuation of the last 4 or 5 games. And I don't know if you guys even noticed, but he didn't start the second half. Darius Perry started in his place, and then he, whatever the reason was for that, certainly seemed to light a fire up underneath him. And once he got back in the game in the second half, he started to light it up. So hopefully he can continue that moving forward.
Darius Perry with a good game as well, 14 points for him.
Yeah, I like the energy that Darius is bringing. One of the criticisms that I had for him when I first kind of saw him play in the first couple of games that he appeared this season is that he wasn't quite getting his teammates involved the way I know that he's capable of. But this past game, I think he showed the most kind of, to me, showed the most poise and like kind of he was the most comfortable in this offense that I've seen all season. Not only the 14 points, but the 7 assists. He has some spectacular passes in the game. So you could see that things are starting to kind of open up for him. He's starting to get a lot more comfortable in our offense. And ironically, with only 5 rebounds, he actually led our team in all 3 of those major categories in points, rebounds, and assists. So it was a big game for Darius Perry. I'm expecting a lot. He played 36 minutes in this game. I'm expecting basically that from here on out. It seems like he's kind of our main ball handler that we're going to see, and I hope that he continues to show that improvement.
So, Ben, one of the things that we've kind of noticed in previous games and during that stretch where SMU kind of went on a run, what I noticed again was that our guys, they did a great job in the first half, moving the ball around, moving within the paint, cutting through the paint, doing whatever to generate passes and get the defense moving. During that stretch, they didn't do that again. It almost seems like Johnny's calling that for everybody to be out in the perimeter and not to be cutting to the basket or anything else. Is there a reason for that, or are they just playing lazy basketball?
I don't see it as, I don't think it's something that Johnny Dawkins would necessarily call for everybody to kind of stay out, but there are stretches that we talked about, sometimes how you can get kind of lulled to sleep or get complacent when you're switching everything on defense earlier. I mean, there are stretches where the way that we play and depending on the lineup that we have in offensively, there is some standing around going on, and that is something that needs to be addressed in the film room, during practices. They need to have more movement off the ball, and that'll open up a lot of things. We need to have, as we talked about, much more aggression towards the basket. We need to get that drive and kick game going. I don't think it's necessarily something that Johnny would actually call for, but it's certainly something that Coach Dawkins needs to address and make sure that we're always attacking, just like we are on defense for the most part, always attacking our opponent. That's the way we need to play on offense. It's going to open up a lot more things. And we need to we have a pretty good, high post where the, big man comes up in the high post, catches the ball and does a dribble handoff, or maybe there's some high ball screen action. I would love to see some more screens off the ball, especially for shooters like Darren Green Jr. Coming off in the first half, there was a couple of off-ball screens more or less at the top of the key for Darren Green that he was able to just catch and either do one dribble or just turn straight into his left, through his left shoulder and square up for the easy shot. That's how he got a couple of easy wide open shots that he knocked down in the first half. I'd love to be able to see more of that. And then, of course, attacking the basket will certainly open up more of the shooters on the outside and to get us to the foul line.
All right, Wednesday night at 7 p.m., East Carolina Pirates take on the Knights. Is this the chance that we have to make it back to the win column?
Yeah, my goodness, I hope so. I think that this is of the teams that we have played in this early conference schedule and just the early schedule in general. This is the game to get back on track because, quite frankly, as I've said, numerous weeks in a row since the schedule came out, it was very front loaded. We've played Houston, one of the best teams in the country. We've played them twice already. We've had some big tests in the conference, and East Carolina Pirates are essentially been a one-trick pony since Jalen Gardner has has been there as a freshman. He is a beast. Jaden Gardner is a beast. He is always your kind of double guy. He's going to get you that 16, possibly 10 rebounds, at least 8. I mean, he's a big physical presence in the middle, and he has the ability to shoot from the outside as well. We're going to have to play him well, but they don't have much outside of Jaden Gardner, so I'm hoping that we can be able to contain him on defense and really just see some of those flashes that we saw in the second half from Brandon Mahan just come to a full game again. See the improvement and how comfortable Darius Perry seems to start to get in this lineup, and then of course move the ball a little bit better on offense, and it should come together for us.
Yeah, one of the big things, that for me, even beyond getting to the game, is whether we have one at all. It was actually kind of interesting. I saw a stat recently that 22 programs of all D1, 346 active teams, are currently on pause. As of in the month of January, Jeff Goodman took a look at the percentage of teams that actually play 2 games in a week, which is the normal schedule. January 4th through 10th, 62%. January 11th through 17th, 67%. The most recent week, 61%. So do you think we play this game?
Well, that's been the question all year, right? I am going to be optimistic on this. And I mainly say that I'm going to be optimistic because while I don't think that the struggles that we've had the last month with COVID are the last time that we're going to experience this season. But the hope is, with the amount of time that we had to take off over the last 3 to 4 weeks, that we would be able to be well enough where we don't run into any incidents of COVID ourselves. But of course, we know that it takes 2 teams to play. And who knows what could happen on the East Carolina side of things. It's just, this entire year is a crapshoot. I said from the beginning, it'll be a miracle that we, even complete this season. So far, so good on that front, in the sense that, while there's been a lot of starts and stops, for the most part, the universities are dealing with it the best they can, and these games are being played. But I mean, as you said, Roger, I mean, around the country, this is happening. I mean, Michigan just climbed up to number 4 in the country, and their entire sports program, all sports programs, are taking at least 2 weeks off starting today. And so, who knows, with a program even on a roll like that, they had a strain roll through, and that's an issue to shut it down. So it doesn't matter how well or how bad you're playing. Really, COVID doesn't care about that. And so hopefully we're able to play this game this week and show some more improvement, because we certainly need to get back on track. And at this juncture, I really hope we don't have another stop to the amount of starts and stops we've had.
Well, the matchup predictor says 66.8% chance that UCF wins against the East Carolina Pirates. So that's good.
That's lower than
absolutely.
I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, they've struggled this year as well, but they have won some games against some lesser opponents. Certainly in conference play, they've struggled this game. So I'm hoping that we can bounce back and prove that matchup predictor right.
I'm reading right here that this would be the 10th victory in a row against them. That we've beat them 9 times in a row, it says.
So we're their Tulsa.
Kind of, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, we're their Tulsa. You're right. So, and Tulsa is affects us in every sport. That's for sure. But yeah, I'd say that. I couldn't remember the last. If you would have asked me, I couldn't remember the last time we lost to ECU. So I sure hope on Wednesday evening that we don't break that streak.
Yeah. The last time that East Carolina won against UCF in basketball was March 12th, 2015, in an 81-80 victory.
All right. So 81-80. Yeah. So it's been, yeah. So we're poised. I mean, we are, this is the thing about our team, as bad as we've played the last 5 games, and we've seen some tough things that don't get you, the losses don't ever feel good for your favorite team. But we have proven in stretches and in some cases full games that we are a very talented team that could play with anybody in the conference for sure. And so we just got to put it together again for a full game, which has been obviously the issue the last 5. And so against a team like East Carolina, hopefully we can get off to a good start and we can continually kind of take it to them and get back on the, get another notch on the win column. That's for sure.
Yeah, there were definitely times against SMU that they looked pretty good. I mean,
absolutely,
it wasn't horrible the entire time, so they definitely had their moments.
They held them. Yeah, they held them in the first half to a very low score. I think SMU averaged the 70s in the for the season, and we had them at 23 points, I think, or something like that at the half. So defensively, they held their own, and we led quite a large portion of the game. So it wasn't like they ran us out of the court. And Houston was kind of the same way. They kind of caught us there at the end. What do you think, Ben, is causing that? The last 3 or 4 minutes of a game, we're just opposing teams are just running. Good opposing teams, let me say that, are running away with the game.
Yeah, potentially there's a lack of conditioning there, right? I mean, those starts and stops certainly don't help with that, right? You're not getting into a flow of practice where, I mean, back when I played, and I imagine it's no different now. I mean, we were conditioned as long as there wasn't a game the next day, we were running full conditioning at the end of every practice, so you're continually, making sure that you're in good shape. And when we have practices for nearly a 2-week stretch that we only could get 5, maybe 6 players in the gym, I think that lack of not only practice time together, but the conditioning that comes along with that, I think takes its toll. And when you play the intense brand of basketball that UCF does, at least on the defensive end, and you try to maintain that discipline and maintain that intensity for a full 40 minutes can sometimes wear you down. And I think SMU was just, at the end of the day, able to exploit that. I mean, Houston kind of jumped out on us from the very beginning, and it was a little bit out of hand right away. But I think when you got 10 minutes left in the game and they pop a 10-0 run, it was just a little hard for us to recover from that.
All righty, Ben. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate your insight, and we will look forward to talking with you Tuesday night on WDBO as well.
Sounds great, guys. Always great to join you on the podcast, and we'll see each other very soon on Knightline at night.
All right, man. Take it easy. Night Nation, I need to talk to you about something very near and dear to my heart. It's Tijuana Flat's new fajita tacos, available for a limited time. Grilled chicken or steak with fajita peppers and onions, garlic lime sauce, and guajillo chili salsa, topped with cheddar jack cheese, crisp iceberg lettuce, and fresh pico on warm flour tortillas served with chips and salsa. We're talking good vibes and even better flavors from a whole nother plane of deliciousness. Available for a limited time either in-store or through their app and website for delivery or pickup. These aren't just fajitas. They're something better. True enlightenment. Fajita tacos. Available for a limited time only at your neighborhood Tijuana Flats.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each and every week on the Knightline Sports Network for the AAC Report. We bring you in-depth coverage of each school in football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, golf, tennis, and more, as well as bring you insider interviews and focus in on the biggest games and news of the week. That's all right here each week on the AAC Report, only on the Knightline Sports Network.
Hey Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain? Or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
All right, we're back. Knightline 247, I believe it is, 247. Roger, what do you want to talk about next?
Well, I think something that we should talk about is celebrating some of the success of some of the UCF players that have come through our program. So with that, let's talk about the 14 UCF players on this year's All-Conference and All-America honors list. So Marlon Williams and Richie Grant both got honorable mention All-Americans, which is awesome for them. Honestly, Marlon, I'm surprised he didn't get a little bit higher on that because he placed really well. First team All-Conference, Marlon Richie, Jalen Robinson, Cole Schneider. Second team, Dylan Gabriel, a little bit of head scratcher there. Otis Anderson, Matt Lee, our up-and-coming center. Aaron Robinson. Third team, we got our puncher on there, Andrew Osteen, long snapper, Alex Ward, and Greg McCrae, which was kind of weird that Greg got third team, but he did. Fourth, Jacob Harris, Cam Good, and Eric Gilliard. Aaron Robinson and Richie Grant also went to the Senior Bowl or going to the Senior Bowl. Marlon Williams got his ticket, punched his ticket to the Shrine Bowl, which is the East-West Bowl, along with Tay Gowan. So they have an opportunity to show out in front of NFL scouts. Trey Nixon, as I mentioned earlier, got a ticket to the Combine, which, again, is a little bit different this year as it'll be done on pro days on campus. And Greg McCrae showed out at the Tropical Bowl. He had 185 yards, honorable mention MVP, including 99-yard kickoff return for a TD. He ran for a team-high 65 yards and caught 5 passes. Now, remember, folks, in these types of games, you're going to have to share carries and opportunities with others. So with those kinds of numbers, he did himself a lot of favors and I think opened a lot of NFL scouts' eyes. So
yeah,
great job to Greg McCrae.
Yeah,
congratulations.
If you didn't see that 99-yard kickoff run back, that was incredible. Look it up. It's out there on YouTube, I'm sure. Twitter, it's out there. I saw it on there. That was a really good run. I wish that he would have been returning some kicks during our regular season, and maybe we would have had a little bit better of a special teams performance because obviously he's pretty good at that. So, yeah, good for those guys. I'm surprised. Now, Trey Nixon is the only one that has an official combine visit, combine invite.
That's all that I've seen that has been posted. Now,
That's
that doesn't
absolutely
mean the other
crazy.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that the other guys won't get it. I don't know if they're kind of waiting on these guys to get through, these Senior Bowls and all these other bowls that are
to be.
post-
Are they even playing these bowls? I haven't heard anything about them.
Yes, they're playing all of them. The East-West Bowl is still being played. The Senior Bowl, called the Senior Bowl, was being played. So yes, as far as I know, I don't know of any of these that have been canceled.
Any idea when those games are?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay.
You would have to ask me that.
Well, I always ask a question that somebody can't answer. So I'm just thinking the people that are listening probably want to know when those, it's all good though. I didn't look it up either. So I saw a little bit of talk about this the other day, and I'm trying to type and talk at the same time, and I can't do that. So, Senior Bowl.
January 30th, 2021 at 2:30 p.m. EST.
Okay.
So
well, there we go.
That's the Senior Bowl.
And what's the other one? I don't
East-West.
know. Oh,
the
Shrine
East-West
Bowl.
Shrine Bowl.
Shrine Bowl. Let's see if I can type that. Shrine Bowl 2021. Canceled is what this says right here.
Oh, shoot. I didn't even see that.
Google Shrine Bowl 2021 canceled. So, hopefully the Senior Bowl will still go on. And then there's usually an NFL Players Association Bowl. Was that the Tropical Bowl? Is that what that one was? NFL Players Association?
No, that's a separate one. The Tropical Bowl is something different.
That one probably was canceled too. So, yeah, it's just, this year is just so screwed up with all this stuff. I cannot wait till this whole COVID thing is done. I know that I'm beating a dead horse by saying that all the time, but in a few minutes here when we talk to Brandon, we talk about it as well. And man, it ruined so many things this year as far as sports, and it's still ruining things. So hopefully we can get around this and move on and have sports back the way that we had them before. All I want to do is tailgate with my buddies and then go watch a really good football game. That's what I cannot wait till we can do that again. All right, we probably need to get this next little segment out of the way, so check this out. Welcome to the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Visit TijuanaFlats.com for takeout or delivery, or visit your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. All right, the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Roger, look what I did for you.
That's amazing. It sounded great. It sounded as good as that food sounds, so I'm super excited about that.
Those fajita tacos, man, I'm telling you. You got to go check them out. They're awesome.
Absolutely. So, and something else that is amazingly awesome is Coach Abe. So my Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week this week is Coach Abe is Danny White's best hire. So not most impactful, but best hire. The women's basketball program had been floundering for years. We all know that. It was she's completely flipped the script on that. So she's constantly competing for championships in the American. The basketball brand is exciting to watch. We had UConn and we had the Cows that had kind of run the league for a very long time. While UConn was still here, we were constantly in contention. And now that they're gone, we even have a better opportunity. The turnaround was absolutely lightning quicker, I think, than what Coach Frost was able to achieve with the football program. And our trajectory just keeps. I mean, this year I fully expect we'll be competing for an NCAA bid. We'll be competing for another conference championship this year. So what Coach Abe is doing, reinvigorating that women's basketball program, a program that had not done much of anything for a very, very long time, it's just exciting to watch. And I truly believe she is I believe she is the best hire that Danny White made while he was here. What are your thoughts?
I almost agree with you. I mean, the only thing that I would we have baseball coming up and we have softball coming up. Baseball was doing really, really good before they got canceled last year.
And they're ranked number 24. That came out today.
Yeah,
so
that's a
they're
little
ranked
low,
number 24.
I think that's a little low. I think we could have gotten a little bit better than that. But yes, I think Coach Abe is awesome, and what she's done with the women's basketball program is absolutely incredible. That's the one that his hire that has sustained greatness so far. So yeah, I mean, I would probably agree with that one. That's a definite. I mean, if you look at some of the other hires, I mean, Scott Frost here for a couple of years, yes, he took it to, went from 0-12 or 16 or whatever the hell it was, all the way to undefeated. So that was a big deal, and won a quote-unquote national championship. That was a big deal. Heupel also went undefeated 1 year out of that the next year. So that was a pretty big deal. But then, as a consistent thing, I think Coach Abe has done the best. Johnny Dawkins, I'm not sold on Johnny Dawkins, to be honest with you. He needs to get this turned around. I thought this was the year, to be honest with you, with the way that it started. And then now we're just having all kinds of problems. We talked about that with Ben. And if you're watching the men's basketball program, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So the other thing is I think that you can kind of let some of this stuff from this year go with the COVID situation. But if Coach Abe can get this team into the NCAA tournament, I think that solidifies your hot take, and I don't think it's a hot take anymore if she does that.
All right, you doused my flames. I agree. I think I think she's an amazing coach.
I didn't mean to douse your flames. That was not. I just think sometimes these hot takes turn into things that aren't hot takes, and they make a lot of sense. So
I need to hit that sauce bar back up at Tijuana Flats.
Absolutely.
A refill on that hot sauce.
Absolutely. So thank you, Tijuana Flats. Thank you, Roger, for your hot take. And now let's talk to Brandon Helwig from UCFsports.com. All right, welcoming back Brandon Helwig. Haven't talked to you in a while, really, on the podcast. We've talked on my radio show a couple times recently, but this is a little bit of a different thing. It's a little bit more mellow here. We don't have to break for commercials and all that stuff, so we can have long conversations and interactions. It's a little bit better. So welcome back to Knightline, the podcast, my friend.
Great to be here once again, and obviously it's a kind of a strange feeling in the UCF kingdom right now, with Danny White on his way to Tennessee, and just kind of a weird time with, we're all kind of dealing with the pandemic and how that is affecting sports, and looking ahead to next season. And now UCF has to go find an athletic director, and there's been no one more, more monumental or for the success of the program, in my opinion, than Danny White. So obviously a really, really big loss here. I think everyone was kind of surprised when they got the news the other day that he was leaving for Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about surprise. It was a huge surprise. I mean, I didn't hear one thing like behind the scenes about this happening or anything until whoever it was started tweeting about it, and then all of a sudden, boom, it was done.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the back of my mind because, just a few days before, we found out Tennessee was making drastic changes. They said there were some recruiting violations under Jeremy Pruitt's watch. We don't know exactly what those violations were. I think there were some reports there was maybe cash in the McDonald's bag. I don't know if that's true. But then Phil Fulmer, who was the AD, the former coach, he was going to be stepping down. And so I kind of in the back of my mind, like, well, I'm sure Danny White's on a list. Would that be a job he's interested in? It's a major rebuild. They may have NCAA sanctions coming. So, it wasn't like I was completely shocked. Just how it came out, just nothing really leaked out ahead of time. I think I was driving around on, it was Thursday morning. It might have been around 12 noon. And I got a text from someone who would know these sorts of things before they get public. And he said, we got a problem. We got an issue here, and that's kind of how I found out. And really within 45 minutes of that text, it was out. I think Dan Wolken of USA Today, was the first one to kind of confirm it. He posted something around 12:30, 12:45. And since then, I guess it really wasn't about money. Danny White was a top 25 athletic director in terms of compensation at UCF, which was remarkable. UCF was paying him well over $1 million, which was higher than, most Power 5 programs were paying their ADs. And he's making more at Tennessee. Some of the initial reporting before we learned, I think he's going to make $1.8 million at Tennessee. Of course, that'll go up a little bit every year, and there's room for incentives and things like that. But it's not. I was almost thinking they may have doubled or tripled his salary, but I think it really wasn't about the money. From what we've learned in the past few days, just. I think he was ready for a new challenge. I don't know if he, really would admit it or not, but, maybe felt UCF had kind of peaked a little bit with the success, and he kind of came what he did to do. And, the whole pandemic, I kind of wonder how that plays in. It's made everything kind of a little bit more boring. It's not as fun. You're not meeting with people, it's just kind of taking the fun out of sports to a degree. And I just kind of wonder if that kind of played into it too. And he was just really ready for a brand new challenge.
Do you think he was disgruntled at all or anything like that? I mean, was there something going on that maybe was he tired of the place? I mean,
I don't really think that would be the way to describe it. Like I said, he was being compensated more than most Power 5 ADs were making. And, I just think he's just ready for a challenge. And, and I don't know,
he's probably the perfect guy for the challenge, because that's a big challenge.
And that, I think that's what he's looking for, because we've always kind of wondered, what opportunity would he leave for? I always kind of thought, maybe certain ACC, SEC type jobs, Notre Dame, et cetera, could be jobs that intrigue him. I think a few days before we learned that his father, Kevin White, the longtime AD at Duke, was going to retire during the summer. And some people were like, I don't know if would Danny White be a candidate to replace his dad. I thought that would be a little bit odd. I don't know. So I kind of wasn't sure about that fit. But with Tennessee, it's kind of very similar to the circumstances at UCF when he got the job in late 2015. Instead of 0-12 like it was at UCF, he's got NCAA sanctions, which may be forthcoming. He's got to hire a football coach in short order. And he's got an opportunity to kind of put his stamp on, for a program that really was a college football dynasty. And for people who are, maybe younger or, not as old as maybe some of us, they don't really remember Tennessee as that program because they haven't been relevant. They're like Nebraska in a sense. They haven't been really nationally relevant since the 90s. And so if he can, get that program back to, being a top 10 type, top 20 program, which, he can,
very well could do.
Yes. Yes. So,
I mean, they have the money to do it. They have the facilities.
That's one thing. Now, that's one thing when we talk about why he left UCF. I think the money was just with UCF. You're in the American. They signed a new TV contract, which was better than the previous one, but isn't great. It's not the SEC TV contract. And I heard at the time that Danny White was not happy with what Oresco agreed to. It's going to average $7 million a year. But that's really misleading because they're not getting $7 million. It's heavily backloaded. It's a 12-year contract, and this was the first year of it. I think they were getting about $3.5 million this year. So you have that. You have the pandemic issues, like trying to the naming rights of the stadium that fell through last year due to the state legislature with roofclaim.com, and I know he was frustrated about that. And it just kind of with the pandemic, revenues are down, and you're going to have to continue to fight to keep donations rolling and keep your donors happy. And let's just say it's a lot more difficult to kind of sustain that at UCF than it is at Tennessee, where they've got billionaire donors left and right and people that it didn't matter what happened, and they're going to be donating their millions. Plus you get that 40, 50 million television check from the SEC. So he can do whatever he wants, and he doesn't really have to worry about money or work as hard for it like he would have to do here at UCF.
Right. And I heard Peyton Manning possibly was involved as well, and that could,
and that was a very interesting point that I did not recognize. Now, obviously Danny White, like I mentioned before, Kevin White's his father, been a longtime athletic director. Kevin White's been around. He's been in Maine. I think he's been in Arizona State. He was at Tulane. I didn't realize it, but when Danny White and Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, he's around the same age as those guys. They were all in New Orleans, living in New Orleans, because that was when his father was the athletic director at Tulane. So they kind of were friends and stuff, living in the same neighborhood in the Garden District of New Orleans. So they go back. I didn't realize they had a relationship like that, but they go back to when they were basically kids and they were friends. Yeah. So that connection was intriguing. I didn't recognize that before he got the job, but that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure that had something to do with it. I mean, I'm sure. It just sounds like it would anyway. So where does this leave UCF at this point? Not a good football season. I mean, really. Heupel may possibly, with the fans at least, he's on the hot seat. And the basketball team not really doing very well. Kind of having issues there with the COVID situation and the lack of money and donorship and everything. How do you sell UCF right now to an athletic director?
Well, I don't think. I mean, we can talk more about the football and basketball issues. A lot of it's COVID, okay? All these COVID issues. Anything that happens this athletic year, you can throw out the window. I mean, you'd like to be more successful, but if we could talk about that maybe in a minute. But I mean, just look at what this job is going to be. There's going to be a lot of up and coming athletic directors, whether they're current AD at a current school, or maybe they're, second in command somewhere else. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people interested in this job. When you look at what UCF has accomplished, you look at, whether you want to think about it in this terms or not, what a launching pad this was for Danny White. He was a MAC athletic director. Only been, I forgot how many years he was at Buffalo prior to getting this job. No, he's a little bit different because he was recognized in the industry because of his last name and because of his father, but he was able to do it and have massive success at UCF and translate that into, maybe one of the top 80 jobs in the country at Tennessee. So I think anyone is going to look at what I can possibly do at UCF. And, I don't know if they're going to, depending on who the candidate is, I don't know if they're going to pay Danny White money to a new AD coming in. I think it was a little bit different scenario. Danny White had kind of earned it. He definitely had earned the raises that he got the past few years to get him where he is now in terms of 1.1 or whatever the salary was, 1.1 million. But there'll be a lot of interest. I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the weeks to come of names that, get circulated that one.
Was there anybody that you had? I mean, one of our Ask Knightline questions this week was like, who are the top three guys that I don't know if anyone really knows that. Okay, I know there's been some names thrown out there. I think Pete Thamel, nationally around a college football national writer, he kind of put forth a few names, kind of like an industry list of, these are the type of candidates that would be, in line for the job. And that may be the candidate list. What about Danny White's brother?
I think he'll be on a list. Brian White, currently the AD at FAU. I saw him. He was here just a couple weeks ago. I think he stayed. He brought up his family for the holidays. They stayed with Danny White's family for Christmas because I saw them all together at the Houston basketball game, which was December 26th, the day after Christmas. So I saw Danny White, Brian White, all their kids together. So they were coming to that game. So he was in town a few weeks ago. So he knows obviously, the situation. So I'm sure he would be considered. I think if we talk about internal candidates, Scott Carr, who's Danny White's second in command, who's actually going to be the interim athletic director, he'll be in the mix for the job. And that'll be something I think that'll be kind of weighed. Do you stay internally? You've got someone who's been, Danny White's, right-hand man the last few years. He understands the lay of the land. He understands how everything has operated here, as far as, things like shareholder society and being familiar with donors and all that kind of role.
I mean, he could keep the ball rolling completely, because he knew exactly what Danny was doing.
Right. And so, within the department of, who to hire and who's been here, who's doing a good job, obviously we'll have to replace a couple people. I think there's been a report that I think the lead compliance guy is going with Danny to Tennessee. And I think another new hire, the guy who was going to replace Eric Wood in terms of running.
And he just got hired like a week ago,
He just got hired like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So I mean, he was going to go to Tennessee, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, time will, like I said, none of this is going to happen overnight. Danny's going to Tennessee. Maybe he'd be interested in bringing more staff with him, but I think he understands we're in the middle of an athletic season. There's still people working at Tennessee. There's still people working at UCF. You just don't grab everyone all at once. So I think he's going to let it play out, see who gets the job here. Maybe people have an opportunity to stay here. They'd rather stay here. If it's Scott Carr, maybe it's a little bit different. So we'll see kind of what happens long term. But, we're still kind of waiting to see details of how quickly UCF plans to move. I know they say they will, but these things, sometimes they take time, and obviously it's a different kind of time now with the pandemic and all this stuff. So I don't know if it'll be, it'll probably be like Zoom type interviews and stuff like that. That's kind of how this stuff's been going. I'm sure they're forming a committee. I've not yet quite learned who would comprise that committee and how quickly they want to move. And I'm sure that's something we'll maybe kind of hear as the week or so goes on. But it'll be interesting to see, who's kind of in that mix. I don't know if anyone really is at this point as far as this person's a definite candidate, definite interview. I think you're right. I think you could put Brian White on the list. That probably will be in the mix to some degree. And the other one I know would definitely be considered will be Scott Carr. But beyond that, I don't know if we know anything for a fact right now.
Right, yeah. Well, I did watch his press conference at Tennessee, his introductory press conference with a tear in my eye. I did watch it. And he mentioned UCF right off the bat. So, that felt good to a UCF, faithful. But it kind of feels like we got kicked in the teeth a little bit on this, even a little bit more. One of our I guess, I don't know what contemporaries or whatever we would call Mike Bianchi said that this was bigger than Scott Frost leaving. This is more of a kick than Scott Frost leaving.
I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree or necessarily disagree with that, because I think a lot of people, they understood Scott Frost wasn't staying here forever, and a lot of these people that were upset to see him go, that didn't mean that UCF was going to be undefeated every year from here on after, which I think sometimes feel like that's like the standard now. We talked about disappointing year in football, and it was, but I think some people's standards, like, you weren't going to win every game every year, just not realistic. Yeah. But no one knew he would stand forever. And Mackenzie Milton, if he wouldn't have got hurt, he was eventually going to move on, and it was just such a weird scenario with, having the eligibility and Dylan's here. It just made sense.
I think we saw the McKenzie thing coming for a really long time.
Oh, I think anyone who had any common sense kind of probably figured, this probably is something that could happen. He could enter the portal and look for an opportunity, because you can't, two quarterbacks just don't work. And, it was time for him to move on, and all of his friends, everyone he came in with was pretty much would have already left. And just,
were you surprised by it being Florida State?
Not particularly, just because I think a lot of the buzz early on is that he wanted to stay in South, maybe stay in Florida. I know he was highly interested in Miami if say De'Aaron King was going to go to the draft, and maybe he should have set up the bowl game, because he got really hurt.
He got hurt bad.
But I think I heard some buzz that he was interested in Miami, Florida State. So I'm not that surprised. It's kind of weird, though, if you're a UCF fan. You're not most of the time. You're not really a fan of Florida State, and Miami. You don't necessarily want to see those schools do well. Just because you're a UCF fan, and so it'll be interesting to see how that works next year.
It seemed like the closeness with the coach there was one of the things that he really respected McKenzie, obviously, because McKenzie beat his team multiple times.
Every time.
Exactly. And then he's familiar with that coach as well. And I can't remember his name right now for some reason. It's
Mike Norvell.
Mike Norvell, yes. Thank you. We know he's a great coach. He just hasn't been able to win the game against UCF, win the big game against UCF. And so far, he hasn't done horribly well there at Florida State. So maybe with his guy, Mackenzie Milton, that he's extremely familiar with, knows his game. They both kind of know each other. I know it was important for Mackenzie. That was one of the reasons when I talked to Mackenzie the last time on the radio show. He really looks up to Mike Norvell. So,
yeah,
as much as I hate that he's going to Florida State, I'm going to watch Florida State games. I think every UCF fan and Mackenzie Milton fan will watch FSU games. I do.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm kind of losing track.
I'm probably going to buy a Mackenzie jersey.
Is all right. We're rooting for Florida State. Are we going to root for Tennessee now? I don't know. Are we rooting for Old Dominion, because that's where Daryl Mack went? I'm kind of losing track of all the teams.
We're going
to be rooting for
everybody.
Year.
Yeah, we'll be rooting for everybody. I'm not going to root for Tennessee, but I'll root for Mackenzie Milton. And I may watch an Old Dominion game here and there. I'm probably going to buy a Mackenzie Milton jersey. I'll probably do it. I will. But
it is kind of a weird vibe right now. Obviously, I guess Danny White's gone. McKenzie kind of been the heart and soul of everything UCF. And if we're being honest, Danny White has the Tennessee job, and Scott Frost is making millions upon millions in Nebraska. All those guys, you can almost say they cashed in because of Mackenzie Milton. He is the common thread in hyper success. Frost, Danny White, all those guys can really tie in. if UCF doesn't go undefeated and do what they do, and Danny White makes such, national buzz with the national champions, comment that he made directly after the game. And at that point, no one really knew what was going on with the Coley Matrix or, NCAA record. No one knew that was going to happen. So, there was more of a backing later on, but when he said that and got a lot of publicity for it, if Mackenzie Milton, isn't really the guy. You kind of wonder, is, Danny White, the athletic director at Tennessee right now? Is Scott Frost making $5 million a year or whatever it is?
I doubt that Danny White regrets saying that at all, though. It
was one of those things. It kind of snowballed. It was kind of like a sarcastic comment that kind of took on a life of its own. Not like he didn't mean it, but it was just one of those things that it really wasn't meant as literal as I think it kind of blossomed to be. We could talk about this another time, but it's just kind of amazing how that one viral moment that Eric DeSalvo, UCF social media director, kind of captured on his cell phone video, and the seconds after the clock ticked zero at the Peach Bowl, kind of how that kind of blossomed into everything that it became. It's kind of amazing. But yeah, he's really the guy that people talk about hypo success, false success. It's all about Mackenzie Milton, and that's really the guy.
It's interesting how things are unfolding in this off season of football, the beginning season of basketball, baseball's coming up, softball, all that stuff. But it's a very interesting time.
We kind of need some good news, though. I understand it, but your athletic director's gone. The rock star AD, Danny White. I know people are disappointed in football, and then I understand that. I think some of it is a little overstated just because of the COVID year it was, and I know everyone had to deal with the same thing. But I'm not jumping off a cliff based on that. I know some fans are, but you've got to obviously got to pick things up next season. But basketball's down. But best player Colin Smith, right before the season, he has a medical issue. He can't play. He's gone. And one of your point guards, tears his ACL or whatever, you end up doing Tony Johnson out for the other depth issues galore. Team can't practice for 2 weeks because of COVID in the middle of the conference season. So there's a lot of stuff that just hasn't gone right.
And they showed some real sparks, the basketball team.
At the beginning,
beating FSU and beating Auburn and Michigan game wasn't great, obviously, but the other two were incredible. When we beat FSU, I think that was huge for the basketball program, and from then on, it's been just like a
I know. I think
landslide.
I think the fan base is just kind of in a bad mood right now because COVID kind of took a lot out of everybody, just from enjoyment of sports. Like, most fans opted out. Most fans didn't go to games. They had, 25% capacity, whatever. UCF they didn't sell all the tickets they could have. People didn't want either. Was it the ticket price? No tailgating. People naturally maybe were concerned about, virus. Whatever it was.
It was a weird vibe. I went to one game.
Weird. It was weird.
It was really weird. It was really weird. I went to one
crowd noise.
I went to the Cincinnati game, and I actually sat up in the Tower Club, which was even weirder of a vibe.
That was really empty, I think. Yeah,
it was. Yeah. So it was cool to sit there, and I appreciate the guy that gave me the tickets. But it was just really odd. The whole thing was odd.
Yeah. And it sucks. Frankly, lack of a colorful term, it sucks. And I'm just hoping. We're all crossing our fingers that we can get this thing under control, whether it's vaccines or what have you. That I want to go back to normalcy ASAP. This has been a kind of a I don't know the right words, but it's been bad. It's not as fun.
No.
It's not as fun. Maybe if UCF was winning and stuff, but think about it. Even if UCF was, when that wouldn't have been any fun if you would have been in the Peach Bowl and it's socially distanced. All that crap. I'm not saying that I'm glad UCF didn't win the conference. Right. It wasn't other people. I'm just saying, it wouldn't have been the same, and it would have been kind of depressing in a sense that, maybe you were having a really, really great season and just all these, stuff in place that you couldn't do. And I didn't even travel anywhere this year just because I didn't know if it was safe and, I didn't want to spread around. But the thing is, you don't really need to. All the interviews are on Zoom now. And so, a lot of times I travel to road games just, because you can't be on the field. You can't do that. So why am I going to go and sit in a press box and then log in on my laptop to get there on Zoom and I can do it from home. So, but I'm over that. I want to go on all the road games next year, but I'm hoping it's actually normal again.
I think we all are. After all this, we just really need to get back to normalcy, some kind of normalcy, just because everything is, it's been a landslide of everything like not going our way for a while. So hopefully a new AD can maybe breathe a little bit of fresh air into the whole thing. I hope anyway. Not that it was bad when Danny White was here. It was awesome when Danny White was here, but it is a real downer that he's gone and all this stuff has happened, McKenzie and all that stuff. So I'm just looking forward to hopefully getting back to a little bit more of a normal type football season. Hopefully by that time. That's still
we'll be
a long
crossing
time.
our fingers.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, you've done a great job through all this, getting those interviews and all that stuff. UCF has really made it really easy, and I want to thank Dan there especially for doing all this and putting it online and putting it in the Dropbox for us and all that stuff. Because that really helps. Otherwise, we would have nothing. So, but anyway, you're doing a great job on your website. Obviously, rivals.com, UCFsports.com. It's absolutely awesome as always, and it's been fairly exciting in there recently as well with all the news. So it always. Anytime anything crazy happens,
there's always some drama, something.
There's
going on.
always drama. It's awesome, though. I love it. All
Well,
right,
thank
man.
you for having me, Andrew. I always enjoy coming on, and we've been, I don't know how, I mean, you've been doing this now. I think I was one of your first guests, so anytime you want me on, I will definitely be on. I always
Awesome.
enjoy these.
I appreciate it, man. We will talk to you later.
All right, man. Take care.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley reminding you to tune in every Tuesday night, 9 to 10 p.m. on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, plus the WDBO app for Knightline at Night. Brought to you by Chad Bar Law. We'll be taking your calls and your texts reacting to the previous week's UCF sports action, and you never know who will show up. Once again, that's Knightline at Night, every Tuesday, 9 to 10 p.m. on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, plus the WDBO app. Go Knights and charge on.
Welcome. This is a promo for the Take a Left at Albuquerque podcast, new to the Knightline Sports Network. You should listen to it. I say things like this. We need to stop blaming Jerry because we would do the exact same thing if we owned the Dallas freaking Cowboys. Do you know how much fun it is to own the Dallas Cowboys? My guests will say things sometimes like this.
It's the Lord of the Flies thing that happens when they don't understand that things are wrong, spoiler alert, until Piggy dies.
Lord of the Flies has been out for like 100 years. I don't even know.
Sorry to everyone at home who I spoiled the book for. A book's been out for like 90 years or something.
And sometimes, rarely though, I'll say really stupid things like this. If they don't make it out of the West and the Raptors get to the finals, I will go on either this show or whoever's show and say that Kawhi Leonard is overrated because I have too much evidence of it. New episodes drop every Friday with me and some of my good friends right here on the Knightline Sports Network.
And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. All right, welcome to Matt Merritt from JMU. He's our new running back coach. Played running back at Capital University, coached former Knight Jawan Hamilton at JMU. Rushing attack was ranked 10th nationally, 3,224 yards and 39 touchdowns. They did not play this year. Was at Elon previously the last couple of years before that, and their running game averaged about 200 yards a game. He was with Ohio State as an assistant running backs coach and graduate assistant between 2013 and 2015. It includes the 2014 Orange Bowl, the 2015 National Championship, and the 2016 Fiesta Bowl Conference Championship. Coached Ezekiel Elliott, Curtis Samuel, Carlos Hyde, and Braxton Miller. So there's some good running backs that he coached there. So welcome to him.
Super excited about that, and super excited that tennis kicked off on Sunday. I know people think that that's an oxymoron, but I actually am excited about that. Unfortunately, the women's team did have a couple of losses against highly ranked teams. We were currently ranked number 18, but to get you excited again, we did sign Australia's number 2 recruit, Cooper White, this year as just after signing J.C. Roddick, who was the number 2 recruit in the United States for tennis. So that program is definitely up on its trajectory.
Isn't one of our coaches a Roddick as well?
Yes. He is
Andy Roddick's
the
brother.
Head coach over everybody.
Yeah, and so this guy must be related to him. That's interesting. I wonder if it's his kid. Anyway, we'll figure that out, I guess. UCF signed an agreement with 3MG Roofing to become an athletic partner, a local company, and will include the media background and on the field and everything else. I know one of the a former player, actually works for the company and is a partial owner. I do know that. So that's pretty cool, family-owned company. And will be very, very cool. Maybe not as good as the other roofing company that was supposed to give us millions and millions of dollars, but we shall see. So welcome to them.
Something that is also really good is Marlon Williams racked up 22 broken tackles in the slot. He was tops in the FBS and will definitely be missed, but it's one of those little stats that people don't keep track of unless you're looking at the PFF, and 22 broken tackles in the slot for 20 in his time at UCF, which is phenomenal.
Interesting. All right, get this. Another weird one here. Dylan Gabriel finished second in the nation with 1,338 passing yards for over 20 yards downfield. So that means he threw for 1,338 yards with passes over 20 yards. I guess that would be the easier way to say it. That's pretty crazy. So a lot of long balls there, and we know that he throws them really good. So interesting stat there.
And for all you dads and moms out there, Chrysler is making a Hellcat version of the Pacifica. Yes, that means over 700 horsepower in a minivan. So 707 horsepower to take you to your UCF games. Sign me up.
All right. That's probably the weirdest news and note that we've ever had, by the way. But that's fine.
But it's amazing.
Roger wrote the news and notes this week. It's all good. It's all good. It is. It's awesome. If you look at it, it's a beautiful car. So very cool. All right. Last but not least, volleyball started their season today and played FAU. They won 4-0. So good for them finally getting going. I know that they took a little while to get that program going this season. So good for old Todd Dagenet to get the team going, and we'll look forward to them doing very well as well. So he is also a coach that does very, very well at UCF and runs a heck of a team out there. All right, that'll do it for Knightline 247. I'm Andrew Phegley.
And I'm Roger Phipps. Go Knights!
Charge on.